to take this time to welcome and thank all the many people that and institutions, organizations that made our 10 years such a success. Thank you very much, and I look forward to 10 more. This begins a new chapter, so stay tuned for it. Tonight's guests, which are, if I could go on, it would take days to mention their accolades. I know each and every one through the last 20 years and some less, but I'm fond of both of their works and who they represent as independent, strong women and also extremely talented ones. So I'd like to just mention a little bit about Maggie Steber, who she is. Maggie Steber is an American documentary photographer. Her work has documented a wide range of issues, including the African slave trade, Native American issues in the US, natural disasters, and science. She has worked in over 70 countries around the world, focusing on humanitarian, cultural, and social stories. For over the past 3 decades, Maggie has worked in Haiti, an experience that led her to her book, Dancing on Fire. Among her many awards and recognitions are 2017 and 2018 Guggenheim Foundation Fellow, Pulitzer Prize finalist in 2019, Nutsi Award for Photojournalism in 2019, the Leica Medal of Excellence, World Press Photo Foundation, Overseas Press Pictures of the Year, Medal of Honor for Distinguished Service to Journalism from the University of Missouri. In 2013, named as Woman of Vision by National Geographic. Not bad. So imagine. Her work has been featured in National Geographic magazine, the New York Times magazine, Smithsonian magazine, AARP, The Guardian, the Geo magazine, hey, among others, and is featured in the Library of Congress and in private collections. Maggie Steber has produced her book, Dancing on Fire, Photographs from Haiti. Isabel Fernandez is a Chilean artist who works in several mediums and is the distinguished for being our first Copperbridge Foundation artist in residence at the Perla Blanca in Brazil. Castaway is a result of her residency experience. So instead of me talking more about her, why don't we just hear her for herself, please?
While we cue that up, I'm going to, hello, good evening. My name is Maria Bota, and I am the producer for this evening's program.
Doing it.
Uh-oh, can't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Maria Bota, and I'd like to welcome everyone to this evening's program. I am the producer, and I would like to ask everyone to please observe the best practices of muting your microphone and keeping your cameras off so that everyone can enjoy the program and we can really listen and hear our beautiful guests and what they have to say to us. With that, please enjoy the evening. I'm going to hand it over right now to Maggie, who Gio has introduced at length and who is accompanying us this evening. Go for it, Maggie.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. And Gio, thank you so much for doing so much for the arts and being such a great supporter of so many people in the work that you do in the Copperbridge organization. And also, well, it's just a pleasure and an honor to be here. So I wanted to mention a few things about Isabel before we start talking. She writes that her work crosses different media that involve paper and matrices, such as engraving, photography, and books, and especially small editions made by hand. So I want to talk to her about that. And also she usually when she's creating something, of course, like all photographers, we hope, there's the conception to the very final product. And she really makes sure that her hands are on every single moment that something is going on. She's taught workshops in many different places. And she's been working along the Pacific Ocean since 2012 with a large pinhole camera and black and white film. And she's developed her photographs on paper with artisan photosensitive emulsions, especially carbon transfers and heliogravure and platinum, palladium, and silver salts. And I think when we look at her pictures, you know, well, we have digital cameras now, right? But, and I shoot them, I use them, but I also still shoot film. And I still like to think that you can tell a little bit of the difference between film and digital, but maybe it's just a romantic idea I have. But at any rate, in looking at the pictures that she's going to show us that she did shoot, I'm trying not to use that word anymore, but that she did take with this pinhole camera, the quality is so beautiful. It feels so natural and that you're there. So I think you're gonna see a lot of that. She wrote this, which I found to be wonderful. And I'm gonna ask her about this. She said, I approach my surroundings from the belief that separation does not exist, that everything participates in a common soul that expresses itself individually with its own strength and vibration. And that's why she wanted to use the pinhole camera, because graphically it translates that pulse and that conjuring because of these long exposure times. So I also think when you're photographing with a pinhole camera, you really spend more time, because it takes more time, to make an image, to have the image imprint itself on the paper. And so there's a kind of an intimacy that I think that we don't always enjoy as much with digital. So where is this woman? Isabel, where are you?
Hi, before.
What happened? Oh, wait, am I supposed to do something else? Let's see, bear with us, kids. We actually had a rehearsal, but anyway. Oh, we're supposed to see something else.
Yeah, first.
Sorry, I just ambled on and on.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Isabel. I was ready to go.
No,
I was excited. Okay.
you know what? This is wonderful. We're in 3 parts of the world. So we have for you, before Isabel talks about her subject, we'd like to show you. I'm very proud to share with you one of Copperbridge's missions, which is creating community in other places in the world. And as you know, we have worked with Cuba for many years, and we're working here in North Miami as well. But there's another incredible place dear to me, which is Brazil. And there's a very magical place called Perla Blanca, and we discovered it thanks to a dear friend that I think is watching today, and I thought it would be a wonderful place to welcome artists. So I'd like to share with you this little piece of paradise, which is now an art in residence for Copperbridge Foundation. So if you can, please show our friends Perla Blanca. Hello, my name is Gio Darder, and welcome. This incredible property called, what I call Perla Blanca, white pearl. For me, white pearl is a gift from the ocean, from Yamaya. I immediately fell in love with the sensation of this area. I decided to just create some, how you say, magic. And so I seeked out some friends, and I met this wonderful woman by the name of Monica Cavallo from Rio.
Eu já vim 3 vezes à Ponta da Barra, né? E cada vez que eu venho, cada vez eu me encanto mais com toda a beleza natural que existe aqui e toda a possibilidade de um fazer, de um projeto onde a gente pode pegar a comunidade local, e porque aqui é um lugar muito ainda agreste, muito verdadeiramente primitivo. É um Brasil que não se fala, é um Brasil um pouco afastado, um pouco pouco divulgado.
How can we create something here that is beautiful, that works with nature? And I met a fantastic architect by the name of Castaways, and I told her about this little dream that I had here, and she now wants to come. So it's finally, it's manifesting this wonderful place where Casu, who I hope will come soon, will create part of this project. And then I have another gentleman by the name of Bobby Klein, who is a spiritual healer, and he has a place in Tulum, Mexico. And I mentioned this place to him, and he said that he felt that this would be a place to come. So right now, this is what we're doing. I welcome you to be part of this.
Eu acho que Copperbridge é uma alavanca, é uma célula que pode espalhar esse tipo de conceito, onde através do primitivo, do local, do local, do morador, do povo local, junto com o meio ambiente, junto com aquilo que aonde ele vive, o que o cerca, ele pode se conscientizar disso de uma forma de preservar sustentavelmente, de manter uma sustentabilidade, gerando renda, educação.
Not too long into the future, hopefully I could say that we did bring together Bobby Klein, Castaways, and Monica Cavallo, along with many others, including yourself, to be part of this program. This is the way I operate. I first dream of something, I pray on it, and it manifests.
For coming this evening. We'll be having soon a slideshow going on. I want to thank you, Gio, for this. Well, first of all, for the invitation to Perla Blanca, but also to this invitation this evening to share a conversation, and I wish you will enjoy the inspiration of this place. And Maggie, thanks so much for the beautiful and inspiring introduction you made for a couple of minutes before. And well, let's enjoy this journey. As Gio told before, I was invited to Brazil 2 years ago to test, in a way, this house. He had this beautiful idea of creating a creative center for making art residencies, and also to work with the community, the local community. And well, it was a special moment for me because I was dismantling the house where all my children grew up, and also I had mounted a very important big exhibition of my work. So I felt I needed some silence and resting. And so, well, he invited me to this place, and I went alone, and well, I found there a lot of surprises which I was not expecting. First of all, the huge, beautiful light blue altars you saw in the video, they were my companion these days, because my first difficulty there was, I had in my head this idea of making contact with the community, but I must say that I understand very little Portuguese, and this is a rural place, in the countryside, very wild and far away. There's no place to buy anything. So it was very difficult for me to have a talk with the people there. So then I began feeling very alone. But there was Yemaya, and I had received from Gio some instructions, to bath myself every morning with flowers, to talk to Yemaya and the girls there. There was a gypsy girl and many, many mermaids, which I loved. And so we are having now on view one of the pictures of the offerings I made for Yemaya, not every day, but often. Every day I made very private offerings as I bath in the morning, very early. The sun comes up at 5 a.m. And so can we go on with the show? Well, there, then I was so surprised and tired and overwhelmed in a way, that I hold on to life and to sanity, so to say, working with my cameras. That was a choice I made in order to feel and to stay centered. And so, well, this is the work I made with my pinhole camera. For those who don't know what it is a box with no lens. It's a camera obscura, something that goes ancient in time, before the Renaissance. Sorry, English is not my native language, so it may come many Spanish words to talk. Well, this box allows the light to go in and make an image if you have a sensible substrate at the opposite of the hole, of this little tiny hole. So it's a very light equipment with which I travel and which I carry everywhere, and Brazil was not the exception. Can we go on? Oh, well, thank you. The nights were long, were hot, where I received in this house a lot of visitors, of wild visitors, like frogs and butterflies and mosquitoes also, of course.
Oh, I love that.
And I meditated a lot, not to feel alone. And also there were people around me that were taking care that I would be all right. And I must say, thanks to Val and to Maria, she was a very sweet mother who's, we shared some fish sometimes, but mostly I was eating fruits and had no hunger. I was just very confused, feeling with my feelings, feeling alone and under stress in this overwhelming beauty where you would feel normally as paradise was for me sometimes very hard.
Can I ask you a question about
yes,
that?
Please.
Just because you brought it up and you've mentioned it a couple of times. I don't want to stop the slideshow, but just for a second, why did you feel the stress of that? Because your pictures are so tender, and I feel like you really connected with these things. Why do you think, I mean, unless it's something very personal, why do you feel that it was stressful?
I think mostly because I didn't understand the clues of the place. So I couldn't talk to people, or I felt also responsible for work, you know, and I felt this huge como responsibility of connecting to the community and doing at least something beautiful for them also. And as I wrote also, I think this tropical fringe of the world has an effect on me, an effect of putting my mind down, and I connect to feelings, and my senses become very aware, and I have the feeling that the spirits of these places visit me very, not always kindly, but very, I sense them. And so, well, I think the photographs have something of that. They may look tender, but you know what I thought as you were asking me that? Maybe that's my effort to keep sane, you know? So I try to find beauty also in that darkness, also where I don't feel comfortable. I think beauty is something very, that gives me stability and a certainty of the existing world.
Oh, that's very interesting. And I think there is also beauty in the darkness if we look for it. But it's really interesting because when I first saw these very beautiful photographs, I was just seeing them small. And then when I finally got to see them yesterday, I think it was, you sent much larger images, and they came to life in a way that when they're big, you can really see every detail, and you can see all kinds of dancing between things, and relationships between things. Like this is really so beautiful and lovely. And when I look at it, these little plants look like little trees, and then the sand, and then the reflections in the background. And so there's so many layers. And also, whenever you're photographing the water, it's like velvet or something. It's really I feel like it was sort of like going back and forth between the land and the ocean and the sand and I can't remember what those mangroves. It seems like there were a lot of mangroves, which are always interesting to photograph. But then I would see something like this, and when I saw this large, I thought, oh, this almost looks like something. Well, I don't want to say something dead, but something that had lived and has been sort of abandoned on the beach. And then there are other things that are so lyrical and so alive. And this is so lovely, so beautiful. I feel like these pictures really need to be seen really big so that you can enjoy every square inch of them. They're beautiful, really.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would love to do bigger prints of this, of my photographs. Well, I sent Gio box with 17 or 15 40 by 50 centimeters, which is the biggest I can do by now. No, chemical prints, love prints. So they are in one way big, but I wish to see them bigger also. But then I would have to print them in a printer, you know, and I couldn't do the job because I don't have such a big space to do bigger. But well, anyway, I love what you say about the details because as I was listening also to your beautiful film, The Audacity of Beauty, you said something about finding beauty in these difficult places, and also a beauty that you cannot very easy see, you know. And so that's what I love also from the pinhole camera, that you see realities or beauties or I don't know, details that are not available for my eyes directly. And I love that magic because it's always speaking to me about things that we cannot see in the reality, but they exist anyway.
Yes.
I mean, the camera is telling me they exist. And I love that, you know.
The camera sees things that we don't always see. And partly, I think in this work, you get to see it because the method is slow, you know, because if we're shooting with a 35mm camera or even a larger format camera, unless it's a 4x5 or something like that. But we're always on the move so much when we're photographing with a smaller camera. So when you see these pictures kind of took their time to be born, in a manner of speaking. And I was really curious about this one, this particular picture. Can you talk about this one? Because I'm not quite sure to make of it, and I see a lot of different things in it. But
I'm curious to know what you see in this.
Oh, well, do you want me to tell you?
Sorry?
Do you want me to tell you what I see?
Yeah, I would love it.
Well, okay, I see a part of a fish at the back, and then I feel like it's a deep sea diver at the front. And then, but I also feel like it's this sort of woven thing that occurred because of the ebb and flow of the ocean. And so it's kind of a mysterious creature like the ones that you might see if you went deep, deep, deep into the ocean, where there's lots of creatures we've not actually ever seen. So I don't know, it's a very different thing.
You know what, this picture, I didn't see it in the beginning as I was going through my negatives. And when I was finishing the series, I went through again and I saw this picture, and it felt like myself going deep into the ocean.
Oh,
And so I found this, it has a certain movement. I don't know if you feel it or if I only see it myself, but I think it's like a big ship, but fragile, going deep into the ocean. So it made, so then as I made the print, I realized it was my first shot there. And I love this kind of, I don't know the word in English, coincidencias. How do you say that?
Coincidence.
Somebody tells me. Coincidence.
coincidence.
No,
Es la
it-
misma cosa más o menos.
Exacto. It is the first shot, and also it reveals something of what I was feeling there. No, there's the sun, and I was enthusiastic, and this big, overwhelming beach with no borders. Wherever you look, there's sand and water and the sky. Well, that's what this picture is.
I also love the offerings that you made in the mornings. And this is like a forest that maybe, I don't know if it's because when I saw this, I thought, oh, it's a forest from the past. But in the background, the forest is continuing to grow. And I don't know if I was thinking that because right now in the United States, we have so many forest fires going on, and there's so much loss of the lives of animals and people and homes, and the trees are really suffering. And, so we've lost a lot of forest land here. But there was something about looking at this that, I don't know, sort of reminded me of the past, what had been alive, what had lived in the past, but with the memory, because part of it is still there. And yet I feel like if you look into the distance, it's still alive. And there's a sort of a sense of passing, but, things die, but then there are other things that are born, and it's this sort of continuation of life, I guess.
Wow, I love what you say.
And this, I adore this one. This is like a big fancy spider. She's all dressed up, she's going to go visit the palm tree. But that's just the way I think sometimes, because I'm kind of overly playful sometimes, but with photographs. But I interrupted you, sorry. And this is so lovely. I love this photograph. This is so beautiful. And I love that the horizon is tilted, because it feels like we're on a boat and it's sort of going.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. Doesn't it look like that?
Yeah, you're right. But well, in the beginning, I was a little disturbed by the tilting horizon, but I love her anyway. It was a huge moment to do this offering. There were candles, and the sun was going down, but I had to make a picture. I gave myself some minutes to enjoy, but then come back to work. And well, this.
Go ahead.
I felt so, do you say bounded to Yamaya? She
Connected,
was connected. She was so present that I really felt after all these days, I wanted to turn back the flowers and the shells and the fruits to her.
I want to read something. You wrote this very beautiful essay, which is going to be made available to the people who are attending tonight. But I just want to read this paragraph. Or maybe you would like to read it, but it's the paragraph.
No, go on.
Okay. It's right here. Okay. A couple of mermaids and a gypsy girl share altar with Yemaya. I always liked them, not only because they were naked, showing off their beautiful fishtails, but because they are seductive. Can we go back to the picture that we're talking about with the offering there? Thanks. Attracting the object of their desire to the depths of the sea. It is not uncommon for this to happen. Mama Cocha first seduced me with shells and seaweed, shore flowers, and drawings in the sand until she pushed me to follow in the footsteps of the huireros, gatherers of algae from the Austral Pacific, until I became La Hira?
Huira.
Is that
Huira.
Huira?
Huira.
Huira.
Mhm.
Anyway, I just thought, and then you really go in further to talk about the various goddesses, but I thought that was so beautiful. When I read that, and when I look at this picture, I feel like that sort of goes with that. And your writing is exquisite, actually, and it's really, really beautiful. I mean, there's another sentence here. I entered Perla Blanca with the new moon and Uranus, the Lord of surprises, crossing the sky, disquieting star signs for a journey without coordinates. I mean, so beautiful and so poetic. And I think it's so lyrical. Your writing is so lyrical and really embraces the photographs, and they embrace the writing back. It's really a total sort of experience to be able to read what you wrote and see the pictures as well.
Yeah, I just would like to say that the dead mangrove, that's a picture that comes next, where you talk about passing by, and that in a way is the counterpart of the baby mangroves. That's more or less at the end. If we can see that.
Can we go to the next picture?
Yes, please. No, next.
The next, yeah. That's the spider.
Yeah.
Okay, this one. Okay. No, go forward. No, or backward. I don't know. Go to the mangoes. There. Okay. Okay. So what were you saying about this? Yeah.
It's very interesting what you saw. I didn't realize it until now, that these dead mangroves, well, they were seducing me every afternoon, because the tide is very wide, the high tide and the low tide, and there's so many meters away that what's under the sea comes to the ground view, okay? But then as I was some days later, I discovered what happens very early at dawn. And so this mangrove, that's the little forest, very tiny sticks that we see, they are dead, but the dawn mangrove photo that is ahead, they're so healthy and newborn, and I find it so beautiful that we have the two view of this round circle of death and life, of the sun going down and going up, of night and morning. If we can go, please, Marisol, to the mangroves, the young mangroves, please.
Goes.
More. Esa, gracias.
Go back. There.
Thanks.
I love this one. I love it so much.
Yeah, she's the sister or counterpart of the other when what was very beautiful is coming into this rhythm of the tide. I feel very comfortable with that, with living with no watch, with no telephone, with just with the rhythm of the tide and the sun. Well, that's it. No, I lived really very connected to nature there.
They look like 4 young women or 4 young girls going to look in the water to see what they look like, you know. And I love that the reflection also of what's in the background is upside down. And this is one of my favorite ones. I think it's so lovely. And I can imagine. Plus, I love that you talk about being connected to nature, because I think sometimes we forget that we're part of nature. You know, we sort of separate it. Here's the animals, here's the ocean, here's the plants, things like that. And we forget that we're part of it. And I don't know, do you feel like being there in a kind of an isolation did connect you or make you feel more connected to nature in a different way than you had felt before? Or
See, totally, because I couldn't contact people. And so I just contact nature, no, like a companion. And a lot of my work has a lot to do with this, what you read before. I hope I can say it clearly, with this feeling of connectedness and no separation. I mean, it is obvious that we are doing so much harm to our planet and to our brothers and sisters. So if we can have an idea.
I've been hearing you, and I love the conversation. May I ask a question? Just
Yes.
because
yes.
I know the lead-in, how I asked you to be part of this Perla Blanca, and actually this dream that we talked about. The little house that you stayed was actually built with such love, and as you say, the altar in the home, and the fact that you were the first artist there, but alone, female, alone, from Chile. And again, so I hear you, and I can understand not the uncertainty, let's say, of your trip, because you left something behind, not knowing what you were getting into. And again, this is a remote part of Brazil. It is not, near any major, let's say, city. Yes, a couple of miles away, but the fact, yes, I should say about 45 minutes away, a small town. You were taken care of in a way, but yet you really had to deal with yourself. That was a deal. You had to really, there was no one else there to interfere with your thoughts or occupy your thoughts but yourself. So I see this in your work, and one of the things I love best about your series is the rebirth, which is here, because this is rebirth. These pieces here are rebirth, and the offering of, in faith of what you're letting go, and yet, so this series, I see that, and this is why I think very important that when people have the time to read your story, because it really is so eloquently expressed through your photographs, but then through your words, which came later. And I think that you mentioned, and people don't know, unfortunately, but one of the things is when this was done, you mentioned the world changed. So you're being prepared. You never know what you're going through at the moment and why it was actually preparing you, all the fears and everything. It was actually preparing you, maybe more than others, for what was to come.
Oh,
so I'd now let that go with both of you, because I know Maggie has traveled around the world, and again, in unknown places, shooting situations like in Haiti, after the major earthquake and places like that, and documenting maybe the pain, but also uncertainty for her as well. So how about a little interaction about that, and what's the commonality between both of you as photographers in that respect? Thank you.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, you start. You go first.
Okay, I start. Yeah, I mean, when I look backward and when I read my diaries or journals,
Mhm.
I realized that I came into Perla Blanca very, in a way, feeling I was going not crazy, but do you say ill or sick? I don't know very quite well the difference, but
Confused, maybe? Confused or?
no, garbage tema was too unbearable for me. And a lot of my forehead exhibition had to do with garbage in the beaches of Atacama in Chile.
Mm.
And so I wrote something like this: I must find peace. And if our civilization has decided to die, okay, I'm all right with that. But I will still work on beauty. Okay?
Okay.
And so, se me paran los pelos. Well, when now I read all what I had written and wanted to write, to put it in such an order that I could share it, I realized, or I felt, I had somatized. Do you say somatized? Somatized? Something like a premonition. I mean, I was in Brazil 6 weeks before Chile's awakening, and 6 months before the arise or
The arrival.
the COVID situation. The arrival of COVID in 6 months, we were all more or less isolated and in such a situation that we had to deal with our feelings, such as it was for me in Perla Blanca. And so it was so amazing to realize that I had the opportunity to work on my feelings and to heal myself and to, letting many things go. And that's why the work in Spanish is called soltar amarras, which is a little bit different than Castaway. But, they are both meanings are very related. When you are a castaway, you have to let go. No, you have to deal with your isolation.
Well, you wrote something very interesting in this essay about this. You said, not understanding voices and words or having coordinates to locate oneself can be very uncomfortable. However, such a scenario has the virtue of activating new senses in me and sharpening my perceptions. So when I go into a situation where I'm not familiar, I don't speak the language, in Haiti, I learned Creole because I so wanted to understand much more about Haitians and Haiti. And I really, truly think that I can only ever press my nose up against the window. I'm never going to be Haitian, but I'm so deeply in love with the Haitian people. And if you know the history, it's so amazing and the culture is so amazing. But so I learned Creole so that at least I could converse, and I love this language anyway. But yes, often I've gone into situations and places where I don't know anybody, I don't speak the language or anything, but I always try to go in with an open heart. And I've learned how to listen, because people will tell you their stories, and things will reveal themselves in nature, even if you are just quiet and you listen and you look. Wow. And then I feel like I'm getting closer to the reality or the truth than what I might have done in my research. Because especially, when you're going into different cultures, you're reading the writing of a lot of different people, some of whom are from the culture or the place and really know a lot about it, and some who are anthropologists who are just some white guys writing stuff about a place. I no offense to white guys, but anyway. Well, in Haiti, like a lot of the early anthropological writing was by non-Haitian people. And so they're always going to be looking at a place or at a people through their eyes and how they are measuring people. But so I'm kind of going off point here, but I've just found that even in a place like this, where you went and you were isolated and there weren't people to talk to, but you said it so well that nature spoke to you. Yeah. And she has a lot to say if we'll just listen. Every morning I go out into my courtyard and I listen to the birds singing because I'm just sure they're giving me messages. And I love thinking that because why not? You know, I think there's reality, but it's so different for each person, depending on how they see it or how they're listening to it. And I feel like you told us a story with these pictures, and it's a story with many chapters, and each photograph is sort of a chapter, and it's a story of the ocean and of nature and of, I want to say Yemanja, but that's not Yemaya, who is the goddess of the ocean and the seas. So there's so many stories that you were being told and capturing with your cameras. So.
Wow.
I will just go a little further, as Maggie said, that experience that you had, obviously, if you didn't have that experience, you wouldn't have written that incredible, because when I received it and you sent it to me, it stopped me in my track. I had to call you. I told you, and I said, please, voice this, word it. I want to hear it with your voice. And you sent it back, and literally, I got to tell you, I got emotional. Why? Because you painted the picture of the place that I found too, that gave me a sense of understanding, and which is Perla Blanca. Again, it's not a resort. It is a fishing village in a beautiful hut that has spirituality in it. That's what I read when you wrote. That's what I received, and that's what I remember. I don't think that that's what you, when I first told you about Perla Blanca, you didn't, that was not your image, as you said, but you came back with exactly what I thought that place is. It's a magical place. And again, it's a healing place. As you said, you were broken or you were hurt. This is a place that you were able to transform that energy into, through your artwork that still now lives on. Hence, we're doing a show or a Zoom here, and your story will now live on forever, including your photographs. So for me, that's the biggest joy to know that already, thanks to you, this is moving on. I already have people that are asking, please, I'd love to experience that.
Oh, really?
I'm sure their way will be a little different than yours because, again, it's very raw. But you're right, it's nature at its best. It's everything you said.
We do have a question from the audience, and with the permission of everyone, I'd love to read it. It says, you have a very spiritual connection with your subjects. A pinhole camera doesn't have a lens, so the energy of your subjects imprints straight on the substrate that you're using. Doesn't that connect you more with your work? Question? And this came from Sebastian Donoso.
Yeah, it connects me with my work. I think I live the mise-en-scène of making a photo in a very, spiritual way. It doesn't really reflect what I would like to say, but for example, I will answer with an anecdote. Today in the morning, I worked on the portrait of an indigenous woman who was my, I I don't know the word. She was my mama. She was a young girl who was in charge of taking care of me as a girl, as a little girl. And so all the proofs I made, which were not correct, I kept them with me because I will fire them. I felt really unquiet to put those proofs in the garbage, you know, because I think I have a feeling, a physical feeling that she is there. How could I put these tiny proofs, in the garbage? I couldn't do that. And so such is the kind of my connection when I make pictures with a pinhole or with another camera, but naturally most of my work is done with a pinhole. So yeah, I don't see inside, well, this journey of the light, but I do feel it in a way. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that's what I feel.
Sebastian, you'll have to tell us in chat if that answers your question. I invite anyone else who might have a question to please drop it in chat. Otherwise, I think, Maggie, do you have any other questions that you wanted to pose? Oh, wait, here's another question that's coming in from Diego Baloyan. I hope I said that correctly. How is the cultural landscape related to the practices and knowledge of the local community? I'm asking you that because I am interested about the particular way of inhabiting this territory, and if this modernity isolation of the residents allowed you to access that reality from a different perspective than the one a tourist could have. That's a good question.
Well, thank you, Diego. Well, I was first surprised by some things I couldn't understand, and I just can imagine the reasons. No? For example, people don't live at the seashore. Although it is not open sea, but a canal, and they live more or less away from the sea, maybe 1 kilometer or 800 meters. I don't know. There's the forest also in between. And as I sailed through the mangrove to Rio San Francisco, at the river, I realized the fishermen fisher families did live at the seashore. So I asked myself if the river was more quiet and more protected from wind and storms. But I couldn't really talk to anybody to clear my mind about it. But every day as I came to the beach, there were the boats, but nobody sailed the boats. And the whole day, nobody came to the boats. There were these nice, beautiful refugees, more or less in the way of Atacama, but in a different style, no palm tree refugees. And nobody was there. There were the strings and the things that the fishermen needed to work, but nobody came. And in the other hand, every morning came children to my house, not my house, to Perla Blanca, which was very astonishing for me because they sat there very early in the morning and I don't know what they expected. So I played some while with them but they wanted to stay with me the whole day and to sleep with me. And so I said, I have no bed for you, and I just have fruits. Maybe we can share a fruit. But in a way, along the days, that was a little uncomfortable for me. So I had to draw a border, because I didn't feel all right, responsible of these kids. I couldn't feed them. I didn't want to work as a mother. I wanted to work as a photographer, and after a little while, it was enough for me. So I cannot really answer your question. They saw me as a foreigner, as somebody very strange, a woman that was alone with a camera, that didn't speak their language. So I'm not sure they didn't look to me as a tourist. I think they did, although the efforts of making some relations. No?
We have quite a few. We have another question from Elizabeth Rudicil. I hope I said that correctly. Did you bring any other equipment? Wait a second. Oh, there's so many questions. Did you bring any other equipment or media, paint, etc. with you? Or did you only use your pinhole camera during your time there? Did you find yourself wanting to work in another medium while in Perla Blanca?
Yeah, I did. I brought ink and brushes, but I don't know, I didn't use them. I just wanted to make photos and write. I write a lot. And I had some dreams that I wrote down also. But I didn't paint, although I was carrying my brushes and Chinese ink.
Wow. Well, we have 2 more questions. I hope we can get to them. From Veronica Rivas. I would like to congratulate you on your valuable and consistent work over so many years. I am amazed at what you achieved with your magical black box, and I hope to continue. Okay, this is not a question. I hope to continue enjoying your images. All right, let's see. Magdalena Carrasco. The relationship beyond the material reality of the reality of the photographic support is very interesting. I was very interested in what you said about your mama. Isabel, thank you very much for the photographic discussion. So I guess that she had questions about your mama that you were talking about.
Maybe.
Let's see.
Well, as a child, I was born at the border, at the north border of our country. And from very early, my very, very early years, I was connected to indigenous women. My first mama was an Andean Aymara young girl. And then this other mama, she's a Mapuche woman, but she was very young as I was a little kid. So I think these 2 ladies are always living in, well, there was my mother also, but I don't know, these 2 women are very important to me. I think they might have brought me in this magical world of indigenous deities and cosmic visions related to nature.
Beautiful.
Sorry?
That's beautiful. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a present of life for me. I am very privileged to have received a lot of love.
Maggie, I'm going to hand it over to you because I think we have covered all of the audience Q&A, and I'm sure you might have some pending thoughts and questions for Isabel.
Well, on one part of your bio, you wrote that you like to make books by hand. So are you planning to make a book of this material, that a handmade book of this material? And if so, how large would that be? And how many pages? Do you have any idea about that?
Oh, wow, it's a great idea.
It's a good idea. You should do it. It seems like the subject lends itself to this. I mean, look at this. I just love this photograph so much. I'm just so in love with these young
mangroves.
Yes, aren't they? They're so precious. And can't you just hear them giggling, like as they're running through this little puddle of water? But would you like to make a book? I think it's interesting because you did write that you make a lot of handmade books.
You know what? I feel photographic medium is totally related to books. Mm-hmm. And I would love to do a book, and I would love to do a very waterish book. So, yeah, so I might maybe choose a medium that involves the feeling of water. But I have not still think about it, but I will let you know, and I will send you pictures when it is done.
You know, you could do combine the different papers, like you could print the work on a very a heavier art paper, and then you could take some much thinner paper that you almost is transparent to make, you know, like this might be a picture you would put across 2 pages, you know, like that. But then there would be, you would turn a page and there would be this almost, it's almost like, what is it? Tracing paper or something. Just, it's kind of looks cloudy, but you can see through it as well. That could be kind of interesting. How many handmade books have you made from your work? Are there a lot of them, or?
Of my work, I've done 10 books already of my own work.
This is
and I have done some books also for other artists. And well, my books are all from the beginning handmade. Not every book is handmade in the total, but maybe hand bounded, or well, a blend, a mix of different media. And you know, I started making books because I wanted to keep all my prints together. As I was learning to work on photosensible emulsions, I wanted to study them, and I didn't want them to get mixed. So after a work session, I would bound them, and then it began. I realized I loved to bind books, and I started learning about it with different masters that told me how.
I think that's such a good idea, because I mentor a lot of photographers and they all want to make a book, and I always think, well, make it, you know, but just make it. And they always think that they have to find a publisher and a company and the money to do it. And I sometimes think, well, try doing it your first you make it, because that's the only way it's ever going to be exactly what you want, you know. It's when you have full control and the dream is in your head. But
you know, something beautiful about living so far away from everywhere, as we feel here in the South, is that we look for many ways of doing things without thinking in a standard way, you know. And I find it amazing. I never thought of a publisher until now, maybe. I just do it. Well, it's maybe 1 copy or 2 copies, and I cannot sell them because I love them. But I have learned through working that way.
I think it's such a great idea for everybody, because it is a way to show your work and put it together. And I think you learn something, not only about your photographs, but about yourself and how you put something together. Because you're telling a story, even if it's not your story, but I think it's quite an important thing to do. And I also really I wanted to ask you two other questions. And one is, have you been drawn to the ocean in other bodies of work that you've made? Does the ocean draw you, or do you go to different landscapes or situations when you work?
Well, I've been drawn, I think, for a life by the Pacific Ocean. Mm-hmm. I was born at the seashore, and as I was thinking of this subject, I realized something I never saw before. I come from a very severe, structured Catholic family, mm-hmm. but also very hippie. Mm-hmm. Strange mix, but that's
hippie Catholic.
So how it was. And so, we lived from Monday to Friday at the big city, but from Friday to Monday at the seashore. And so I think inside me, the structure and responsibility and being a good girl was related to the city. But being free and wild was related to the seashore. And I still...
Yeah. I always had to be a good girl too. And I think that's why I started traveling in the world. I always had to be a good girl. And somehow, when we go out into the world, it's not that we're meaning to be bad or anything, but
we're free.
We're more free. It's true.
Yeah.
I think, are we running out of time, or do we?
Are.
Okay. Can I just say one thing? One more thing. This essay that you wrote, I think it is going to be available to everybody. And I want to say this to everybody: you make sure you read this essay, because it is such a beautiful and fine piece of writing. And if you're going to be a photographer, I can't tell you how many times I hear photographers say, well, I can't write. And I just think, well, you can, and you should, and you shouldn't be so afraid of it, because she has written something that is as glorious as her photograph. Wow. And beautiful. Both
we will have it
and everything.
We will definitely have it available on our copperbridge.org website. And again, we will make use of it for all to have.
Good.
I will also say that I'm very proud, again, did not make a mistake when the Spirit brought you to Copperbridge's Perla Blanca. And to have Maggie be on this, again, what an incredible night of conversation. And I just want to say, and take this time before we go, that I didn't mention this before, but Maggie is part of Foto Convite, which is an incredible nonprofit that Copperbridge has worked with, partnered up with many times over in the last 10 years. And that's why I actually know Maggie. And again, their work is worth visiting, which you can see on our site too. Isabel, as I said, what a pleasure to have you all. Please do take time in the next day or two. This will be available recorded online, and we'll put it on Facebook as well. And we'll have your beautiful poem available for all. Thank you very much all for being part of this wonderful evening. And till next time, thank you very much. Be well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have enjoyed this conversation deeply. Maggie, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that you came tonight to talk with us and with all my friends present here. A lot of Chilean are following your work, and it's an amazing work. It means a lot to me that you gave us this beautiful time. And of course, to Gio and Copperbridge, it has been really a very important opportunity And I think it's so coherent with what you say, no, to that you build these bridges. You should say something, Gio, about the Copperbrdige of Cuba, because we the Chilean come from a copper land, and so as I talk of Copperbridge, they told me, a mining company, and I say no, it's a foundation building bridges, cultural bridges.
Well, pretty much before we go, the material is a healing material. It's a material used for communication. That is the main purpose. And also in our Cuba, there is a patron saint, and she's in the mines of the copper mines fields of Cuba. That's why the copper plays into our bridge of communication. So with that said, I thank you all for joining us tonight, and see you once again. Thank you very much. Be well.
And this Christ is going all over with him, showing the whole story from Brazil to the world.